Is Spider-Man 2 really worth buying? That's what I'm going to talk about today as I use a variety of different factors from gameplay to the map itself and give you my overall opinion. Now, one thing you're not going to get here is just some glowing review just because it's Spider-Man, right? There's a lot of people saying it was game of the year before the game even come out, and I understand that because the 2018 version especially was, pretty groundbreaking. It was awesome. And I'm going to reference that game a little bit as well and just kind of tell you how much better the experience, if any, is improved over the 2018 version. Another thing I'm not going to do here is I don't want to spoil this. If you're in the middle of playing this or you haven't bought it already, I'm not going to tell you any of the major storyline arches. So any of the gameplay you see is going to be within the first 2 to 3 hours. Anything after that will just be me fighting people that you would already see and expect in the game anyways. Now, if this review helps you at all and you like what I do, consider subscribing. Let's go and get into it. First thing I want to talk about is the map. It is almost twice the size of the map from the other two games, and that's a good thing. And another thing that I appreciate is how diverse the map feels. It's not just the concrete jungle of Manhattan, which has been faithfully recreated once again. You have Brooklyn and Queens, you have neighborhoods you can explore, so it does feel like a much more, alive experience. You have the East River that you can traverse now, and so I really do appreciate how much bigger this map is, right? It feels like you get more bang for your buck there. And so I do like that a lot. Now, another thing about the map is the amount of things that are going on in the map. It's impressive, the people and the crowds and the cars and the chases and, the birds. I mean, just so many things that are going on. And I think I've had one crash in the game so far, and that was it. And so the fact that they're able to utilize the PS5 hardware to its fullest extent is on display here. And I really think they've done a good job. And it's not only what you see up close, it's the things you see far away. The amount of detail in all of the buildings and trees and all that kind of stuff, it looks really good. Now, one area of the graphics that I'm not so impressed with is the facial expressions. Now, the voice work is on point like it was in the other two games, I feel, but I just expected, maybe just a higher quality of facial expressions, movement, and just more feeling and emotion in the characters' faces, where sometimes it looks like they're not even looking at you, the character, they're just like blankly staring, somewhere maybe in your direction. I just don't feel like they push the bar when it comes to the facial expressions, but it doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks better than a lot of the games out there, and overall it's decent. I just felt like Insomniac would have pushed the bar a little bit further with the facial expressions in this game. So if you played the 2018 Miles Morales and you play this one, I wouldn't expect a huge jump there as far as the facial movements and expressions. One thing I want to talk about is web slinging through the city. And in this new game, you have a variety of different skills that you can utilize to help you move quicker and smoother, and it just feels better, right? And in the 2018 Spider-Man, it felt good already, but you had a limited amount of air tricks you could do. You have a limited amount of abilities. I pulled up a couple of things here that y'all can see, but like the slingshot, you have the loop-de-loop, you have the corner tether, and so all of these things combined, once you start unlocking this stuff, really helps you to give you a smoother experience all the way around. Now, not only is web slinging been improved upon a little bit, but also the air wingsuit. And so this is one of the coolest additions because by using this, you now have a bigger map that you can traverse even quicker. So what they've added are wind tunnels across the East River. They've added wind tunnels in between some of the buildings, and they have like these things on top of the AC systems that will launch you even further into the air. So if you need to get somewhere and it's 2,000 meters and you just kind of want to hang out in the air almost like Batman, you can pretty much do that in this game, which is kind of neat. And the way you corner, the hit detection and all of that is just as smooth as web slinging. So overall, traversal in the map by web slinging or by the web suit wings or web wings, it feels really good. And it feels like a step above what the 2018 Spider-Man did. Another thing, you don't sit there like a turd whenever you hit the water in this one. You actually can swim, you can skim across the water, or you can kind of web sling across the water as well. So they made your interaction with the water not so useless this time around. You can actually, utilize Spider-Man in a pretty cool way when you're going across the East River. Another thing I want to talk about is the combat between the two games. And this is one area I don't think they had to improve much at all on. I felt like Batman really set the standard for this type of combat, and Spider-Man just polished it to an extent, even though I think Batman still feels really good to play. This game, like I said, they didn't really have to make a ton of improvements. Now you're going to have different special moves and stuff that you can do. And of course, Peter and Miles have their own set of skills that you can utilize. But overall, the combat still feels really solid. With the press of L1 or R1, you can utilize those skills, or you can utilize some of the gadgets that they have in the game as well. That'll help you beat some of these enemies. And let me say, I like playing this game on Spectacular. It gives you a little bit more of a challenge, makes the enemies harder to kill, defeat, if you will. But I really do like having the addition of not only your skill set, but then having the different gadgets that you can use. I use them quite a bit now, and I think it's pretty useful. You had them in 2018 as well. I think the way in which you utilize the gadgets is a little cleaner, though. So instead of pressing L1, and doing your little wheel that you would have to select and then hitting R1, now you can just hold R1, hit square, triangle, X, whichever gadget you want to use, and it's just much quicker. It's just a better way of utilizing the gadgets. It seems like you have less gadgets. I know you have less gadgets as of right now. I don't know if they'll add additional ones in future DLC, but either way, they're just kind of different. They basically do the same thing, just a little different. You have suit tech in this one, but you also had a version of it in 2018. But the skill sets that you can utilize for Miles and Peter Parker are better in Spider-Man 2. I did notice in the 2018 version, when somebody is, shooting at you, you can actually pull the gun out of their hands. In this one, I didn't see that. Maybe I'm pressing something wrong, but you either pull them to you or you quickly web sling to them. There's no more pulling the guns out of their hands. Very minor differences and things like that is what I picked up on. Now, I will say, if you were thinking about buying the deluxe version of this game, I would save your money. I don't think the suits they give you are worth the extra, 10 or 20 bucks. I would just stay away from that. Unlock the suits as you go. There becomes a certain point in the story where, it talks about his suit and, how he needs to change things up. And then you can obviously, switch to your suit. And there's a variety of different suits inside the same design that you can use as well, different colors and stuff like that. So they have a good variety in the suits, I feel. And a lot of them I like, but the ones that came in the deluxe edition, I wasn't really a huge fan of. So I would say save your money and just unlock the ones in the game. Now we'll mention some of the bugs. I've seen a few of them, but it hasn't really stopped me from playing the game. Like I said, I've had one crash, but overall it's been, minor things like when you web sling to a light pole, maybe Spider-Man doesn't exactly land on that light pole. He's just kind of hanging out in the middle of the air or something. I've seen some characters kind of, walk through walls and, just kind of crazy stuff like that, but nothing that's been like, oh my God, I can't play this game anymore. So overall, as far as the bugs and stuff, it's been minimal. They're there, just like every single game out there, but overall, it's been fairly minimal from what I've seen. Now, I said I would not mention the story, and I'm not going to mention specific storyline arcs or anything like that, but I will say, so far, I don't feel like the antagonists in the game are as deep as they were in the 2018 Spider-Man. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. I just feel like it was a little bit weak. From what I've seen so far, I'm about 75% through the game at this point, and maybe something will change, but I just feel like they explored the villains better in the other game. Another thing that I noticed that is very obvious is the lack of police officers. In the first game, you were always communicating with the police. Police showed up on scenes. You worked with them. In this game, you basically talk to the fire chiefs. Like, that's it. Very little interaction with police officers. I read some articles. I understand. I know why they're doing it. Not that I understand, but I know why they're doing it. So I'll just kind of leave it at there. If you notice, hey man, why aren't we talking to the police in this game? There is a reason. Go out and search it for yourself. I'm going to leave that stuff out of this review. But regardless, that is something that is very obvious in this Spider-Man 2. Another thing I want to mention just about this story, and again, this won't ruin anything for anybody, but I almost feel like Miles is just there to be there. Like, the main story revolves around the Spider-Man. So I can appreciate that. But I just feel like there's some missions with Miles that they put him there as an afterthought or something. I don't know that I'm somebody that I think there's one Spider-Man, right? If you're going to introduce Miles into the game, which he was in the 2018 game, make him into his own character. It seems a little lazy to me that they would call him Spider-Man 2, but that's just my opinion. But regardless, he's in the game. He's a main character in the game. A lot of his missions just didn't feel that fun to me. I don't know. And almost, again, like they were some kind of an afterthought. Now, another quick little thing I'll say about the story, and this, again, won't ruin anything because I promise you most people probably don't want to play these missions either. But the game does have filler just like the 2018 game with these dumb missions that I don't care anything about, really. Like I said, one of the missions, this will be a little bit of a spoiler if you care. One of the missions has you cleaning up the house. Literally throwing trash away. Another mission, or two missions, a couple of missions actually have you play as MJ. And then you play as Haley. And it just kind of feels weak to me, man. I don't really care to play those characters. I'll be honest. And I really don't care that Peter Parker is cleaning up his house. Do that in your off time, bro. Do that when my PS5 is turned off. I would rather be fighting bad guys in the city because I bought Spider-Man to play as Spider-Man. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I feel about it. There's some pretty weak missions in the game. But overall, this is a solid experience. I'm on track to probably be doing a few side missions and stuff. Probably 17 to 20 hours roughly into the full campaign. And again, that's doing some of the side missions along the way too, so it's probably a little bit shorter than that. But with all of those side missions and the inevitable DLC that's coming, I think I spent, I don't know, maybe 100 hours or so in the 2018 Spider-Man. So it is a pretty solid buy. And I'd say overall, if I had to give it a grade, I would say like a 9 out of 10. I mean, there's not too many games that you can play that feel this solid, and it being the third entry into this series, it still feels really good and really fun to play. And so I think it's definitely worth it. I would stick with the base version of the game, the regular version. I would not go with the deluxe, and I think there's a collector's edition too. I'm not sure what comes in that one, but regardless, man, overall, it is a solid entry. I love to hear again how you guys are feeling about the game. Are you enjoying it? Are you having a good time? If you haven't played it yet, do you plan on buying it? Let me know down below. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.